All right, so we're going to get started here. Thanks everyone for joining us today on this webinar where we'll be talking about sharing geospatial information for you humanitarian response. I'm really excited today. I'm joined by my colleague Adam Pfister. He's a solution engineer as well as myself on the nonprofit and global organizations team at Esri. We're also joined by Ivan Lopez and Suleiman Gay from UNHCR. We're really excited to have them here. They're going to be talking a little bit about their vision for geospatial at UNHCR, how they're using geospatial to share information. They're also going to be giving us a sneak peek into some of the tools that they've been developing that is helping facilitate information sharing, not only across their organization, but out to other external stakeholders as well, with an open data initiative. So just a little bit of housekeeping. The webinar is being recorded right now. Um, Anyone who's registered, including those who weren't able to attend today, will be notified once it's been posted up onto YouTube. So if you have colleagues that weren't able to make it, just let them know that we'll be sharing that out and they can catch up with it at a later date. There will be a Q&A that follows, provided we have time. So if you have questions as we go through the content, please just post it in the chat, and we'll be monitoring that, and we'll get a chance to talk to our presenters later. And also, please fill out our survey at the end. It helps us in providing better content for you all. It helps us iterate, lets us know what you're interested in, and so we can improve on the next webinar. So there's a lot of interesting and exciting things that are happening in the world of GIS and mapping and location intelligence these days. There's 3D visualization, augmented reality, virtual reality, Internet of Things, big data, machine learning, and AI. There's tremendous capabilities that are out there that are quite powerful. But today, we're not really going to be talking about all these wonderful, amazing technological advancements. Today we're going to be talking about something that I think is equally powerful, but is much simpler when we think about it from a technical perspective. We're going to be talking about tools that allow us to easily share information. And the reason why we think this is important and why we're doing this whole webinar is that we believe that when we share information with individuals or teams working within our organization, as well as with external partners who are working on the same types of projects or possibly just working in the same geographies, or if we share information with beneficiaries or stakeholders, we're able to be more efficient as well as more impactful in what we do. So sharing information is one of these easy things that really creates synergies. I hate to use the buzzword where we're greater than the sum of our parts. And ArcGIS provides tools that enable us to share information easily as well as in a very controlled way. It provides tools that allow us to have identities and roles, so different sets of capabilities delivered to people within a system. It also has the ability to create groups within specific organizations. So we have two organizational structures, right? The organization itself, the GIS portal, as well as groups within it. And these identities in these groups allow us to manage data and services and generate information products as well and provide access to them. And this is really the last slide that we're going to be showing before we get into showing you the technology and how simple it is, how to get started with it. But it's really an important slide. Essentially, what it's communicating is that all items in ArcGIS Online, all content that's there, data, apps, etc., they're owned by users in the system, okay, by default. By default, they're private. Now, with these items, we're able to share our private items with subsets of individuals in groups, right? So we can create these spaces, these areas where we can invite people to and share items there. We can collaborate in these spaces. We're also able to share content with everyone within our organization. Or if we'd like to, or if we have the privileges to make that content public. That means that anyone with an internet connection would have access to the information or data that's within. But I think a key point here that I think is often overlooked is this bullet point number 2. This idea that content can be shared between organizations, leveraging those same groups in a secure way. Okay, so I think this is really powerful when we think about coordinating between partnering organizations. The way that we're able to share these items in the sharing model is through the use of an identity or a username in the system. And another key concept that we're going to show you here momentarily is this idea of hosted feature layer views. Now, hosted feature layer views are something that are relatively new, maybe a year or two old in the system, but they really allow us to share information more dynamically. They allow us to show different views of our data to different groups of people. So this ensures that everyone has access to the right type of data with the right privileges to manage it. So hosted feature layer views are another one of these things in combination with the sharing model that are really powerful in sharing information to the appropriate people. Again, to make our work more efficient and more insightful, I should say. So with that, let's dig into some of the capabilities through some demonstrations. So we had those 3 key buckets: sharing information within your organization, sharing information between organizations, as well as sharing information to the public. So why don't we dig into this first one, which is sharing information within the organization. And again, these demonstrations are not super flashy, but they illustrate, I think, the ease with which you can share information within your organization. So if we take a scenario where I'm working for a field team in an intervention, and with that field team, I'd like to share data that's being collected or share data layers so that members of my team can collect data. And also I want to share these data layers with other members of my organization, let's say my camp manager. The way that I can do that is through groups, okay? So we'll notice we're in my ArcGIS Online organization. So this is my GIS portal, and I'm logged in with my identity here. If we go to my organization tab, I'm an administrator, so I can see that there are a number of different members in my organization, and those different members have different roles, okay, different privileges in the system. So these identities allow us to provide capabilities as well as access to information through groups. If I go to my content section, I can see that I have different folders that are organizing my content. If I go to this field data collection folder, I can see that there are a number of different items in this folder that I'm managing on the back end. We see tile layers that can be added to web maps, feature layers as well that can be added to web maps, and all of these can be assembled into applications as well. Now, if we look at the column to the right of the item type, we can see how these items are shared within my organization. So I have a tile layer that's actually made available to the public. It's actually hydrating an open data site. I can see this little building icon indicates that my web map, my water app, is shared to my organization. And I can see my water taps layer is shared to a group within my organization. Then the icon with the lock on it is indicating data layers or items, I should say, that are private, that only I can see or my administrator can see. Okay, so in my content section, I'm able to organize my own content and manage my own data. But if I wanted to share this content with other individuals in my organization, I could do so using groups. If I click on my Groups tab in my GIS portal, this happens to be ArcGIS Online. It would be the same in your ArcGIS Enterprise implementations. We can see that there are different types of groups. Some of them are more back-end. This is an administrative group, so it's only items that I want to share with fellow administrators. But I also have groups surrounding different information products in this case. So here I've created a Camp Manager dashboard that has data layers, and web maps and associated are shared within that group. I want to focus on my field collection teams though. So if I click on my field collection group and go to my content, I can see a number of layers that are shared into this group. And these are the same layers that I was managing back in my content section in my folder, but I've just made them accessible to the members of my group here. So anyone that has access to this group has access to these data layers and therefore can collect information against the data layers or assemble web maps, whatever they'd like to do. So if I look at my members layer, I can see that I have a few members of my group already. I'm the owner of this group. I've also invited a field worker to this group, and I've given access to this group to my camp manager as well. So what I can do is provide access to more users through the Invite Users tab. So let's just say there's a new employee that's working and that's joined my team. I can search for their name, add them to my invitation list, and better yet, I can actually just add them automatically. So they don't need to accept my invitation. I can just add them to the group. So at that point, my second field worker has access to all the content that's within my group. So for example, they'd be able to see this water dashboard that I've got. It's basically all the data layers that we saw in that group are hydrating this dashboard. I can click on it, interact with it, so they'd have access to the water tap condition, the valve condition, et cetera, for the settlement. And I think more importantly, they actually have access to the web map. So this web map is hydrating the dashboard we just saw. It has all the same data layers. But this web map can also be used for field data collection. So as long as my field worker 2 has access to that group, they're able to access the data layers in that web map and collect information about new water features, as well as make observations and related tables to existing water infrastructure. So it's really as simple as that. You basically are able to generate these spaces and invite people within your organization so that they have access to information that they need to collect data in the field or just view data. And importantly, I showed you a very manual process of adding those individuals to the group. However, if you're adding new members to your organization, you're able to do that in a more automatic way, just assign them groups in a spreadsheet. And even better, you can actually use your Active Directory or your identity stores, ADFS or any of the other ones, to automatically add members of your organization to different groups depending on your Active Directory groups. So there's some automation capabilities there. So next, what I'd like to do is talk a little bit about sharing between organizations. So this is very simple again. There's really just one more step that's involved if I want to share between organizations. So if we go back to that same field collection group that I have here, right now I've only got members of my own organization. Okay, members that can be found in my organization tab. But let's just say that I'm working on WASH, I'm working on water resources in the field, but I'm interested in information that's being collected by another organization. So let's say that I'm in a settlement and another organization is in charge of the health facilities there. It's not my subject matter expertise. I'm not the one that's going to be the source of truth for that information. I want to incorporate outside information into my own information products, like that dashboard we saw earlier. I can do that by inviting external users to my organization. So for example, if I wanted to add Adam, my colleague, who's in another organization, all I need to do is uncheck this box. If this box is checked, it's only going to search for members in my organization. If it's unchecked, it's going to search all the users within ArcGIS Online. And I'll add a caveat to this. It'll search all the users in ArcGIS Online who have made their profiles public. And that's a really easy step. All you need to do is go into your profile and select the radio button for public. And if you do that, individuals will be able to search ArcGIS Online and find you and be able to add you to groups that are internal to their organization. So at this point, I can send my invitation to Adam. And Adam, what's going on your end when I send that invitation?
Hi, Brendan. Yeah, so on my end, I see an invitation and an alert up at the top of my screen that I can navigate to and choose to either join or decline the invitation. I've chosen join just now, so Brendan, go ahead and refresh. And you should see my name pop up in the list.
There we go. So now Adam's a part of our organization, and he can actually view any of the content that's been shared there by any of the different members. But importantly, he can not only view content, he can also share content into this shared space. So Adam, do you have a data layer that you could possibly share with us?
Of course, I'll take a health facilities layer, and on my screen, I will choose to share it into this field collection group that I'm now part of. And that should be done.
Okay, so if I just refresh my screen, then we can see that we have a new layer, this health facilities layer, that's been added by Adam. Okay, so he's in a different organization altogether. So if I go to my members section, members, I'm not going to find him in this list. This is a different identity for him. What I do have access to is the content that he's maintaining in his organization and then is sharing into this field collection group that I've invited him to, this health facilities layer. And this is really powerful because if we go back to our web map with the water dashboard, so this is a web map that's specific to my water dashboard, but I can actually save a copy of this. And maybe I want to just create an overall settlement dashboard that's going to assemble all the different data layers from all the different collaborators that I have, whether they're internal or external. So I can create this settlement dashboard. At that point, you can see it's got a new name. I've got a whole different assembly of layers. And I can go in and search for layers through the web map, through the map viewer, navigate to my groups tab, and then I can filter based on that field data collection group that we're both a part of. So this is going to populate with the different items that are shared there. And we can see that the health facilities layer that Adam just shared is visible. I'm going to add it to my map. We can see here in blue the different health facilities at the settlement. At that point, I can save my web map and actually begin to create information products out of it. So in this case, I'm just going to create a really quick operations dashboard. And I'm going to illustrate how we can use that health facilities data layer to power an indicator. So here I can say number of health facilities. and maybe change the color to blue to match my styling. And there you go. I've got the beginnings of a dashboard that incorporates not only my water infrastructure information, but also is pulling in external content from another organization that might say focus on health. So as you can see, this is really simple. Just adding Adam, having him add his content to the organization, but it's really powerful in the sense that we can start to accumulate data from different sources and leverage it for analysis, for dashboarding, for whatever, as well as just be aware of what's going on by teams that might be working on similar projects, so we avoid duplicating efforts, or maybe it sparks a conversation with those people so that we can coordinate our efforts better and hopefully save time. So we talked about sharing within organizations. We talked about sharing between organizations. Lastly, I'd like to talk a little bit about sharing to the public. And Adam's really going to take over from here. But before he takes over and shows us some of the hub and open data capabilities, I wanted to illustrate this concept of hosted feature layer views. So what we're going to do in this scenario is take that same water tap layer that we've exposed to our field crews that can use for field data collection, right? They can take more points, record observations. We can also use that for dashboards. But what I want to do is create a non-editable layer, right? A non-editable hosted layer view that's only showing the operational water taps, okay? And I want to use this so I can share it to the public so that other partnering organizations can use it. Maybe beneficiaries will have accurate information as to where they can get water. Okay, so let's take a look at how that would be done. What I can do is go to my water taps layer here, and this is just a hosted feature layer in ArcGIS Online. And we can see if I go to my settings and I scroll down that this hosted feature layer has editing enabled on it, and that anyone who has access to this can add, update, or delete the features. Okay, so I don't want to share this with the public. I don't want them to be able to access this and make changes to my source of truth for the settlement. It's really easy to create a view layer that will do that for me. So what I can do is call this water taps public, maybe, just for, you can come up with a more creative name when you're doing this. It'll take just a second to generate the view. And what this view layer does is it gives us a different view into our data, right? So it's referencing the same data on the back end, but if we go to the settings, by default, editing is disabled on this view layer. I could enable it and maybe share it with a different audience if I wanted to, with limited capabilities or different capabilities, but I don't want to do that. I really want to create a public-facing view of working water taps. The way that I can do that is go to my visualization tab and set a definition on my view. So here we see all the water taps, including those that need attention and don't work. But if I navigate to the set view definition and define features, I can apply a filter that says that only I want people to have access to only those taps that are working. So I apply that definition. We can see automatically what's visible there to whoever has access to this view layer. There's other definitions you can do as well. If you wanted to limit the geography of your data set, let's say you have a global data set, but you want people to only have access to those data points that are within a specific geographic area, you could do that by defining an area of interest. Or you could also define the fields that you want to return to your users as well. So let's just say that you want to collect a lot of different information through different columns in your data table, but you want to expose only a select few data fields. You can do that by defining a field definition. But I'm pretty happy with this feature definition. And at that point, it's really easy for me to share this out to the public. So that previous water taps layer was only shared to my group. But I want to make this available to everyone. They can't edit it. And more importantly, I want to share this with my water open data group. And Adam is going to get into the specifics of the implications of sharing my data layer not only to the public, but also to that water data group, the open data group. And I'll hand it over to Adam.
Okay, thanks, Brendan. So keep that water open data group in your mind, and we'll come back to it in just a minute. I'd like to start with how you would enable open data capabilities within your ArcGIS Online organization. First, in ArcGIS Online, I'll navigate to the organization page. From there, I'll click on Settings, and as an administrator, I have access to all the settings for my organization. And down at the bottom on the left-hand side is a section for open data. This section allows you to both enable and disable the open data functionality. So we can see here that I have it enabled already, but I could choose to disable it at any time. I can choose the Manage Sites option, which will open the ArcGIS Hub admin application. The ArcGIS Hub admin web application is where you can build and manage all of your hub sites. This can be accessed by any member of the organization with privileges to manage open data. On the Sites page, you can see you can create a hub site or visit an existing hub site by clicking on the site name. You can see summary information about the site, view report, and then from the Sites page here, we will actually go through and create a new site. The first page you see is the site configuration page. This page establishes the foundation for your site. Here we'll complete some basic information of the site, such as the site name, and we'll just call this water site, the URL, the sharing option, and the initial visibility of the site. Is it public right away, or is it private so I can work on it before I make it public, as well as many others. Clicking next will save this information from my new site as my configuration. I can always go back and change these options. But now I'm sent to the Groups Manager tab, and you can select the groups that contain public data that you want to be accessible through your site. Now this can be available from any group in the ArcGIS Online community. If I uncheck this checkbox, I can see all the groups that are made public. So you have the ability to search for public groups, maybe from other organizations or from other agencies that have made their groups public. So remember, the data that in your hub site comes from groups in ArcGIS Online that you or others have made available for open data. Once you add a group, any supported public item from that group will be available on your site. So if you don't want an item to be part of your hub site, make it private or only share it to your organization or groups that are not designated for open data. So we'll add our water open data group that Brendan shared the water taps view just a few minutes ago. Now when I click on next, I'm immediately taken to the site editor, which is your workspace for configuring, customizing, and managing your site. The site editor is a full page editor that provides you initially with a site template that you can choose to modify to fit your own site's branding and data, or completely remove from and start from scratch. You can hover over individual cards on the page to move, resize, or delete entirely from your site. The basic layout of a site is organized by rows and cards. And to edit any of the cards on the page, simply click the Settings button. And here you have specific settings for each element on the page. you can see that the available cards to you are available to you to look at in the layout builder. And these include items such as rows to define sections in your page, banner images, other images and text, iframe and media elements, and summary statistics and charts that can actually be driven directly from your open data sets. So after you have configured, laid out, and saved your hub site, you can then choose to share the site with the public by going back to the Hub admin application and selecting the Share with Public option. To view your site, you simply go back to the site's manager, click on the name, and then you get a view of exactly how our hub site will look to the general public. Users can search for data sets that are publicly available, and we can see the water taps feature service that Brendan shared. And when you click on an item on the page, you get information about the attributes that are on the page or for that data set. You can view the data set in a table. You can even view it in an API Explorer view if you are a developer. The data is even available to download and reference in different formats, as well as API links. I'd now like to share with you some examples from the United Nations and its member states around their efforts in supporting the Sustainable Development Goals, or SDGs, and how they're using ArcGIS Hub. Ireland has configured their hub site for the SDGs with an inviting banner image at the top, a mission statement directly underneath, and moving further down the page, they have included links to story maps that are featured, as well as a way to search for data sets by category. If I'm interested in looking for data on poverty, I can simply click on the tile and then view all the data sets that Ireland has made available on this topic. And then again, on the dataset page for an item, a user is greeted with that familiar, easy-to-use experience in exploring information. This experience can be configured by any nation or agency. Here we're looking at a hub site for the SDGs by the Philippines Statistics Authority. They've configured their SDG data hub to group data by categories in addition to the SDGs. So this is a great approach which shows the user some of the national priorities for a nation. Under the banner of SDG.org, the United Nations has implemented their own open SDG data hub. Global data is here. However, it will also bring together data sets from all member state SDG data hubs. Here again, I've clicked on tile 1 for no poverty. I can see the data at a global level. However, I simply type in Ireland in the search box, and I can see results from Ireland's SDG data hub. So this is the same data set we were just looking at on Ireland's site, now being surfaced in the UN's Open SDG Data Hub. Through simple yet powerful group sharing in ArcGIS Online, member states can share bidirectionally with the UN. As the data is updated, the latest information is immediately available. This network of hubs is beginning to thrive as more and more member states and agencies see the value in simple configurations of ArcGIS Hub. Let's now see how a humanitarian organization is realizing the impact of using these tools with an example from UNHCR.
Oh, so hello everyone. This is Suleiman speaking from Copenhagen,
Suleiman,
from the UNHCR office.
Suleiman, really quick, go to your display settings at the top of your presenter mode and change the monitor. Yeah, at the top, go up to the top and to the left. Yeah, the display settings, yeah, there you go. Yeah, swap the presenter view and slideshow. There we go. We got it.
Okay, sorry for that. So I'm going to say some words about UNHCR for you guys that are not familiar with our organization, and tell also a little bit of, provide a little bit of background on GIS in UNHCR before handing over to my colleague Ivan Lopez. Some examples of what we have been doing with the application that Brendan and Adams just. So UNHCR is the UN organization in charge worldwide. Wherever you find what you will find UNHCR. We've been created actually in the 1950s to respond to the 2 million of Europeans that have been displaced by World War II. And our primary purpose is to safeguard the rights and well-being of people who have been forced to flee. So together with partners and communities, we work to ensure that everybody has the right to seek asylum and find safe refuge in another country. So from 1950s to now, we have grown, and now we work on 128 countries. We are about 12,000 staff members, and we provide assistance to more than 71 million POCs, persons of concern in the world. By POCs, we are talking about refugees, around 25 million. We are also talking about asylum seekers. They were around 3 million last year, and we are talking about 40 million internal displaced persons, which are persons that have been obliged to flee, but that haven't crossed the border. So a refugee is someone that has crossed the border. But we are also providing assistance to 10,000 of people that do not have any nationality, so we call them stateless people. So why are we interested in GIS, and why do we need GIS? So our mandate is to provide protection to people. So, and we must know, you can't assist any people if you don't know how to reach out to them. So we must know at any time where our persons of concern are and how to get access to them in order to understand their needs and provide the required assistance. So we do collect a lot of data at different levels. We have data for our refugees up to the individual level, where we have their identity, their address, and their protection background, and a lot of information that we are managing in UNHCR. But we also collect a lot of information at different geographical levels, or at the level of the shelter, at the level of the camp, at the level of the site, at the level of the village, etc. And we also do collect those information on different thematics. We collect information on their needs, collect information on their needs for shelter, for education, for health, for all other basic needs that as human beings we have, and those information are collected by ourselves directly or by our partners. And as you imagine, stored in databases and applications and different systems. And so we understand that data is really important. So that's why we have invested on those data collection mechanisms. So we are a very data-rich organization. So we have demographic data back from the 50s until now, and we have a lot of sectoral data. But data doesn't have any value if it is not cross-analyzed, if it is not shared with partners and internally amongst colleagues. Because if data is not shared, colleagues and partners will be obliged to go and collect again this data, which will actually do more harm than good to our persons of concern, and which is in contradiction with our protection mandate. And that will also result in a very loss of resources and waste of money and time. So that's why back in 2012, early, actually the first investment on GIS in UNHCR are back to the 1990s. So UNHCR has been one of the first organizations actually to invest in GIS technology and understand its importance. And mapping and started in the 1990s, but we were types of software that we are using now. Started working on ArcGIS technology because we recognized the advantage of using Esri, but from the level of implementation that actually the technical solution that Esri offers is unique. So we decided to move to the different software that we were using for ArcGIS. So we partnered with it back in 2012, and in 2015 we were able to do a global rollout of ArcGIS. The way we did it is that we selected different regions, and we went there and trained approximately 100 persons on how to use ArcGIS, how to access our is centrally located, how they request access to our data, and how do they replicate it back, and how do they make maps following our brands and visual guidelines, etc. And after that, the next phase was to better understand. So now that we had the technology and that we had people that were, so we was kind of feeling like we were missing a little bit. So, and we decided in partnership again with Esri to do an engineering workshop in our headquarters in Geneva in September 2016. So we had a whole week talking only about GIS with all colleagues from different sections, HR, finance, fundraising, but also technical sectors like shelter, wars, emergency management, etc. And but it was clear from that workshop that the capacity of UNHCR in terms of geospatial management was growing, but at the same time, it created some challenges, and we identified as well some opportunities that we wanted to kind of reach. So one of the finding was that when faced with limited resources, and you know that as a humanitarian organization, we just actually strive to get access to funding. Our staff, particularly in the field, have found various solutions to meet their own needs. So they actually developed their own standard, non-standard data collections. They did not respect the principles of interoperability between systems, and therefore their capacity to share data with partners and share data back with us were kind of limited. So in addition, we also realized that those partial solutions actually created data duplication and, again, waste of time and resources. So it was obvious for us that overcoming those challenges will significantly improve our ability to effectively respond to crisis. And we thought that the right way to do that was internal, kind of enhancing internal collaboration between technical sections and ensuring interoperability and cross-analysis data sharing. And the only way, or the best way we found for doing that was by using location. All data collections that we do in all our POCs share unique locations. So if we incorporate that dimension into all our data collection mechanism, we will be able at some point to bring back all that data together and do some. So we came up with the idea of working on a new project that was called Camp Information Management System. Again, with collaboration with Esri, we wanted to develop a solution that will bring together all the multiple data streams and associated actually data collaboration and coordination challenge in the field and headquarters. So this project is being under development from Camp Information Management System. Now we are calling it Esri. So as you may not be aware, so the new spare guidelines now are recommending sites are used instead of camp. So hence the change of we are moving from camp to site. And in addition, our policy in UNHCR is for local integration. So we are moving away from the concept of putting people into camps, but having them integrate into the local police solutions and local environment that exists. So ESAT makes more sense than us. So basically, it's a web portal that sits at the center of UNHCR many existing data systems. Its objective is to ensure interoperability and communication between different systems. We recognize that the systems will continue to exist. People will build new systems and will collect new data, but we are for sure encouraging interoperability by respecting a little some standards. Everyone will be able to collect its own data, but the data will be easily put together at the end. So it's a platform Vivo. We would like to provide self-mapping capabilities. So users can draw together different types of data. So for instance, shelter, wash, information on the latrines, electricity, network, solar energy, etc. People, our own staff and also external outsiders, they can choose the data that they want to bring together, visualize and explore and analyze the data. So the technology, the system as it's being designed, will allow also our technical sections that do not have a specific GIS capacity to actually do their work. So for this shelter section would be able to do site planning. The external relations will be able to do their own visualization and analysis of their data. They could do their own story maps, etc. But furthermore, it will also allow us to manage data sharing so that data can be accessed securely by UNHCR staff and partners and also made available to the public. So whilst the project is being developed, the lifespan of the project is 3 years, so we are at the early phases of the project. But in between, we are using the functionalities that Esri is offering through some applications like open data sites and ArcGIS to actually respond to the needs of coming. And so I'm going to hand over now to my colleague Ivan that will show you what application that he's currently working on.
Hi everyone, I am Ivan Lopes from UNHCR, and what you are about to see here is a still working in progress hub, but I will explain through the demonstration our ideas and views. This is the main page of the hub that shows a global view, starting with the web map showing the locations of the people of concern globally. And underneath it, we want to add indicators of population statistics for different groups of people of concern, such as refugees, returnees, internal displaced people, and others. Then we have here several links for data sharing by theme or actor that will pop up a new page. This page goes directly to a data warehouse. As of now, we only have shared data from Bangladesh, but the idea is to have data from all available countries, and the user will be able to filter the data through the tags or either by searching in the search field. Let's go back to the main page. Moving back to the main page, we will also add other links for the country emergency situations. And right now, we still only have Bangladesh available, so let us explore it. In here, we will be able to see the aspects of the country's situation, starting with another web map of POC locations zoomed to the specific country. More statistical indicators will pop up underneath the web map. And then we will also have links for applications such as a operation dashboards for camp profile and story maps. At the end of the site, we will also add several links for each of the actors of themes that will directly link to a data warehouse for the specific situation country. Let us explore the dashboard. The purpose of this app is to help the staff from the operation field in Bangladesh to visualize the data they have collected together with their partners. As of today, they are writing static reports in PDF for each camp separately. And this dashboard will allow the staff to see trends in different times for either all camps or each of them separately within the same page. This is the most recent version of the dashboard, where we can start filtering the data by the month of which the data has been published. Right now, we only have August from 2018 and September from 2018. All the data that is collected is then published 1 month later. So if I select the month September, the actual data from the published date of September was collected in the previous month. Then we can filter the data through several themes or actors, such as AGBD, Age, Gender-Based Diversity, or Education. Let's go to AGBD. Within each theme, we have several indicators. The AGBD is age, gender, breakdown by ages. So for now, these only filters are interacting with the count per indicator graph and the web map. In the web map, we can see several camp boundaries within Kutupalong. If we zoom out, we'll be able to see other camp. If we click the home page within the web map app, it will zoom into the default zoom. From the web map, we can select our camps either by point or rectangle. Let's select 4 camps. By selecting the 4 camps in the web map, we can filter the count per indicator graph. And by selecting each of the camps within the count per indicator graph, we can zoom into the desired location of the camp boundary. And at the same time, it will also filter the select camp. Right now, we can only see camp 3 because we have selected camp 3 on the count per indicator graph. But if we deselect the graph, we will have the variety of the camps, where in each camp I select, the remaining widgets will also interact. We also have here a table of details that are still being under progress. The idea is once I switch the theme, it will automatically change the title. And if there is data, it will show the data for each of the indicator. At the bottom of the app, we have what we call table of traffic light. The table of traffic light allows us to view the impact. Ooh, now we have to cut over here. At the bottom of our page in the app, we can see the table of traffic light. The table of traffic light allows us to see the progress and the impacts. Within each camp that we select separately, we can see the number of persons per health facilities, a number, and a green light. The standard indicator for the specific indicator has to be below 6,000 people. Since we have over 4,000 people, it will become green. Within the percentage of children access to teaching and learning center, we have 19% only. We have here, for example, less than 80% is the minimum standard. So it will become red. And this is it for the operations dashboard. Let us go back. We also have story maps. These story maps will allow us to go in depth to the situation of the country specific. In this case, Rohingya refugee emergency at a glance. These story maps will allow us to view statistical data, maps, risk hazards of floods, landslides, shelter footprints, population density, and many other things. We also have a 3D model of the floodings. The link for the story map will be available on the YouTube. Thank you.
That's great, Ivan. Yeah, we can share out the links to the apps that you showed. We'll also be showing be sharing with you a copy of the presentation as well that will have some resources there as well. So thanks very much, Suleiman and Ivan, for sharing your vision and some of the tools you've been working on. Just wanted to take a couple more minutes to wrap up. Thanks for everyone who's stuck with us to the end. As I said, this will be recorded so you can share it out with your colleagues. But I just wanted to close with this note that, FTP sites, email attachments, ETL operations, all these things, they're not going away anytime soon. But there is this new pattern that's emerging, this WebGIS based paradigm that allows our teams and organizations to share information more easily and with more control. And really what this pattern does is allows us to collect, manage, and analyze data simultaneously, decreasing our time to information and insights, while increasing awareness of what other teams are doing, helping us avoid costly duplications of efforts. And as we hope you've seen in this webinar, it's pretty easy to establish these connections between systems or within them. Technically, it's a very simple thing to do. But we also understand that there are challenges in sharing information, even internally, let alone between organizations that you might be partnering with. And not to mention issues around privacy for beneficiaries. And you really need to think about governance. It is very easy to share information, but you need to think about what's appropriate, who should be having access to what. So we understand that. And it really comes down to establishing trust between IT departments and programs, as well as between organizations that are working on the same team, really, for these emergencies. But what we encourage you to do is to get started. Get started in a small way. Talk to a team in your organization and open those dialogues about sharing information. Share a data layer. These things are not permanent. If you share information out, maybe with someone internally or externally, you decide that's not a good idea, you can always revert back to your previous state. It's important to get started though, test things out, and to iterate. And we really see tremendous value in sharing information within and across your organizations, and hope that you do too. One easy way to get started is by these 2 blog posts. They're really great for giving an overview of the sharing model and how to search for and share out information within your organization. The second one is also great for giving an overview about sharing and collaboration across ArcGIS Online organizations as well as ArcGIS Enterprise. So we'll be sharing out these links with our follow-up email. We're at time, but if we need to, if we want to stay for a little bit longer, we can take a look at some of the questions. Although it looks like Adam has been pretty diligently answering these questions. I'll just go over them really quickly. Active Directory. You are able to use your Active Directory groups to instantiate and add members to your ArcGIS groups. So if you've already been maintaining your identity store in Active Directory, you can export your group JSON and you can actually ingest that into ArcGIS and automatically make those connections. So that's great. Another question is about hosted feature layer views. The question is, if you make an edit to the original hosted feature layer, will the view layer be updated? And the answer to that is yes. So it really helps with that QA, QC process. You can have the hosted feature layer viewable, accessible by a team who's able to edit and update a layer, as well as have another layer view that's just for public consumption. The editors are able to make changes, and those changes will automatically be updated in the view layer. Okay, so if you're sharing layer with another organization, who's keeping the edition rights? So basically, yeah, the owner of the item is always responsible for that item. So you're able to have other people provide capabilities to edit to other people off that data layer, but it's always the owner of the item that's going to control how those settings are managed on that layer, whether it is editable or not, whether you create new views, etc. Okay. Can we create temporary credentials of the web maps to share with external audience so they can access and view without creating accounts? So I think this kind of gets at the idea of identity. So generally, one identity in ArcGIS needs to be associated with one person. You can recycle those identities though. So if you need to provide temporary access to data layers for field data collection, you can do that. You can assign an identity to someone when they are done with their tour of duty or what have you. When they're done with their task, then you can actually recycle that user back and assign it to someone else. However, you do need to have an identity associated with an individual rather than an identity that services a group of people. And it's very similar to you know, your Facebook account or social logins, right? Where you're not going to share out a single identity for multiple people. From a IT best practices standpoint, data sharing and all that, it wouldn't be a good idea to do that. So I think we have covered most of the questions. If there are any other follow-up questions, please feel free to reach out to Adam or myself. We're happy to answer any questions. We can also put you in touch with the UNHCR folks. I don't want to offer them up without getting their okay for answering questions, but we can certainly bring that up with them. We really appreciate everyone attending and hope this is informative. And as we said, if you have any questions about how you can use this technology, please feel free to reach out to us, and we are happy to help. All right, with that, we'll close things out, and we look forward to seeing you at our next webinar.